to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Well, welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This is episode number 64, and I have to say this episode is jam-packed, so much so that we had to leave a large chunk of the agenda in a little bucket for next week to pour that all over our faces and your faces collectively, because again, so much happening in the world of Warzone. The future is on the horizon, and we just got like that new telescope that can see into the future. We got all the details to share with you for Vanguard, for future of Warzone, for all of that. But before we look forward to that, I'm going to turn to the co-host, the 10-Inch-Cowboy, and have him look backwards a little bit to the past week. How was it for you in the Warzone there, Cowboy?
Well, thank you very much for that lively introduction. The week was pretty good. I had a couple of friends visiting, so I didn't get to, and they are not Warzone players, so, you know, it's never fun to play Warzone in front of people that don't play Warzone when you're hosting them at your house. So I wasn't, unfortunately, able to play the last couple of days. But earlier this week, certainly getting into it deep and naughty. It was great. It was, I to be honest, it feels like it's been weeks since I've played because I haven't played in like 3 days, but it was great. Really dialing in my sniping. I've been feeling really good looking down that sniper scope lately. Also, running the MP40 now as sniper support because that weapon just shreds ass. So it's been great. I'm excited. I don't really know too much about what we're going to be discussing in these insane changes that you've been texting me these links to. I haven't been clicking them. This is going to be new for me as well as most of our listeners. So I'm really excited to dive into this new shit. How was your week, Tron, in the Warzone?
Well, again, deep and naughty, some interesting adjectives, but certainly up the Cowboys' alley. I wasn't in with you a lot this week. I did play fairly regularly. But I gotta say, I think, did you hit a personal record this week on Rebirth, dropping 10 kills? Was that a PR there that you had?
Yeah, that game was this week. So I just happened to have one of the best games ever in Rebirth. And the insane thing is weren't even close to winning or getting into a final circle situation. There was still multiple circles left. I think when we died, there was 20 people still on the map. I did have 10 kills on the board. It was a combination of precision sniping and just we dropped bio and I think it was quads. And there was one moment where 3 guys turned out of the staircase into one of the rooms, and I just happened to be like looking down my MP40. I can't remember if I had a Cooper or an MP40, but it was just like, I think I had the Cooper and a 60 round mag in it. And it just happened to be where like I unloaded a whole mag on 3 guys before they knew where I was, 3 kills right off the bat kind of thing. And it was like, okay, this is going to be a great round. And then I got the loadout, started sniping. I mean, I was hitting, it was like a dream scenario. Like I was hitting guys falling in the sky. I think I had 2 sky kills and it was just like, I can't miss right now situation. So it was really fun. Yeah. And I had 10, but we didn't even get close to the victory. So, maybe my team needs to step up or, maybe I've outgrown them a little bit, but we can talk about that later. Yes, good. I had a great week this week.
Yeah, I had to draw attention to that. Anytime there's a PR, although it wasn't a win of the week, maybe you'll throw it up for the Patreon. Yeah. I don't know if you recorded it. I'm eager to check it out. But yeah, the MP40 shredding, definitely my sidearm of choice in it. Still rocking the STG. In terms of my week, it can be a little hairy these days with old Tron Jr. and Lady Tron in tow. Because, you get on and then it's like you can have distractions. But so early in the week, my daytime playing was a little hit or miss. I mean, definitely not carrying my weight in most of the wins. But that said, I had a session, I think it was Friday night, Thursday night, late night, like a 10 p.m. till 1 a.m., 3-hour block The little ones were sleeping. I was locked and loaded. I was feeling it. Playing the Trios Rebirth, just like, I was feeling it, like, all around, especially though I think if you get that short game kind of going, so to speak, you're toe-to-toe with your MP40, those engagements, you start winning those, you really get in a groove, and that's when the game, I think, like, I was hitting the enjoyment levels were off the charts for that session.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, this is rare for me, but when you're in the zone and you're winning the short range battles, the fear starts to go away. You start playing a little bit differently. It becomes more enjoyable. You're not a little scared Timmy on your heels. You're actually pushing. You're engaging opponents, and that's where the kill counts go up, and usually the wins follow.
I agree. It becomes a mindset. Another thing I think is just so important, which it sounds silly saying it, but is like aiming down sights more, being prepared. Like the guy who has the sights up, when they first see the other guy, has such an advantage, especially in the short range. Like, you're approaching a corner, don't just blindly run around the corner. Like, put up the sights for a second. Wait a sec, then peek, Yeah. Always having those things up, looking at corners, pre-firing corners, sliding into rooms, ready to fuck people up.
It's anticipation, It's like always being ready and anticipating there's someone around that corner, and I watch good players, and they are pre-firing when they turn. Like, there's a sense they know when someone's around them, and it's like, okay, they either are here or there, or if I was them, I'd be there. And they're anticipating the movements of the player. It's very next level shit that amateurs need to wrap their mind around. I mean, I haven't really, but I can describe it and speak to it tangentially.
Well, you said the word anticipation. That's certainly, I think, going to be one of the words of this episode. So speaking of which, let's just dive into it. We teased it, or we have been teasing it, for weeks, perhaps months now, and that is the new Call of Duty standalone game coming later this year, 2022. It was all but confirmed that it was Modern Warfare 2. It was Infinity Ward, the team behind it. Well, we got the official word from the Call of Duty folks. Modern Warfare 2022 is officially official, and in conjunction with that, they also confirmed that a brand new Warzone is coming. Tons of incredible info. The high-level details are, obviously, Call of Duty 2022 will be a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019. The game's going to be built on a brand new engine, which the company has, quote, been working on for years.
Wow.
As Infinity Ward looks to improve players' experiences on all platforms. That new engine is going to be powering Modern Warfare 2, and we'll call it Warzone 2. They said, quote, that new Modern Warfare 2 engine won't just power that game, but it will also act as the foundation of a, quote, new Warzone experience.
Wow. There's some shit is going to change.
Some shit is going to change. They said the next iteration of Warzone is being built from the ground up alongside Modern Warfare 2, which will allow the games to work together seamlessly after years of issues and messy integration with other titles.
You don't say.
To me, that's one of the most interesting bits from this, but just the final two notes are that they claim the new Warzone experience will be, quote, disruptive and massive evolution in Battle Royale. Ooh. And interestingly enough, they tease that they're going to feature an incredibly ambitious sandbox mode, but they declined to elaborate further on that. So what are your, initial hip check reactions to this?
Well, I'm going to ask a question to your question. What is sandbox mode? I'm not, as everyone knows, I don't have a big gaming background. I'm assuming that's where, I actually don't even know what that means, an ambitious sandbox mode.
I mean, it's a broad term, but from my understanding and experience, sandbox games refer to, it's just an open arena where you can play. There's no essentially rules. There's no limitations. Similar, like Grand Theft Auto Online, that's a sandbox game.
Oh.
They leave a bunch of shit out and you can play around. So, maybe it's just like this massive area where, there's not tracking kills or lives. Maybe they do, but it's like there's no teams. I don't really know. It's such a broad thing, and they didn't share any details. It's interesting and extremely intriguing.
Yeah, well said. Interesting, intriguing. There's a lot of this that is interesting and intriguing. I think the main takeaway is like, okay, wow, they're creating an entirely new game on an entirely new engine that, in their words, what does it say? It says they're like pushing like the evolution of Battle Royale, which is exciting shit. Like, we're ready for that. You know, I feel like we're in the first generation of Battle Royale right now, right? We're ready for this second generation, you know, step up. You know what I mean? Well, maybe we're in the second generation now, but whatever. There's going to be a generational change coming, I feel like, with this. And that's what they're saying. This sandbox mode, I feel like, is like really interesting as well. Like, they're talking about possibly like a totally new game mode, right? That is going to change kind of like how so I find this, all of this is very interesting to me. We can unpack the shit out of this. How are you feeling about this?
Well, just a final note before I give my thoughts. I did a quick Google search, and according to Merriam-Webster, a sandbox game is a video game in which the player, or part of a video game, in which the player is not constrained to achieving specific goals and has a large degree of freedom to explore, interact with, or modify the game environment.
And the way that they say this, incredibly ambitious sandbox mode, makes me think, obviously, this isn't some little tiny like back part of the game where you can like test weapons out on a map and like see how it works. No, like they're talking about like this is like a whole nother part of the game. It seems an incredibly ambitious sandbox mode. Don't know what it is. Yeah, again, they declined to elaborate any further on that, but that's really fascinating. I'm just curious to see how much further they can push a battle royale. You know, it's a pretty simple concept. Map gets smaller. You want to survive, the last person alive wins. You know, it's pretty, how are they going to evolve this? Like, you know, they can change the maps, they can change the guns, you know, they can change the engines. I'm curious, like, what is next? What is the big thing that's going to change Battle Royale, you know?
That's certainly the question. No major details, but I thought you had an interesting note about that evolution, and we're kind of in like the first era. We're in the early era of Battle Royales. I think that's accurate. And, you know, we have these grandfather, Godfather like titles out there, the titans of the Battle Royales, the Warzone, the Apex, the PUBG, the Fortnite, and now we're ready for that evolution, the metamorphosis to the new era. Curious what it'll bring. I mean, I gotta say, like, in terms of what Warzone brought to the table to begin with was quite a bit of evolution, like with loadouts, with all these items, the way they've integrated these core COD mechanics and, you know, gameplay aspects. So I think there's ripe for potential. I don't know where they're going, but I'm really excited to see what it is. And as always, we'll be bringing you all that info as soon as we get it. But to me, yeah, the biggest high-level thing for me that's most exciting, I guess, twofold, is A, it's going to be a new engine, which I really like, the Warzone engine. I like Modern Warfare 19. I like the way it feels. I like the way it plays. I know that's somewhat controversial, but you got to imagine if they've been working on this for years, it's got to be polished. It's got to hopefully, they learned a lot from, you know, the shortcomings of Warzone and the current Modern Warfare engine. That's exciting. But number two is the part that they've been developing them in tandem, in that they're going to work together seamlessly. They acknowledge that the current, it's kind of what I've been thinking and feeling like, is like, I don't think they expected Warzone to be this successful. It seems like they kind of like just launched it like, hey, we're going to add on this Battle Royale component to Modern Warfare 19. And then it became so successful, it's like morphed into this literally like a fucking Frankenstein that's been waltzing along now for 2 years. Like they're just throwing parts on it, getting it to work, and a bunch of it breaks. And so now hopefully they got a little bit of fucking foresight, and they have a map, a roadmap for how this is going to go, so we don't end up with fucking 70 guns and one of them has 10 attachments and all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring this up. It almost sounds like the Modern Warfare 2019 engine was built for that standalone game, and then it was like, oh, let's just add on Warzone to that. And it's like Modern Warfare 2019 was the sole informant of how Warzone was built. Now it feels like we're going to develop this in tandem. One informs the other and vice versa. They're working together. It's not that one is like dependent on the other. It's like this, it's an exciting time. I mean, what does that mean? I agree. Like I don't really know anything else in terms of movement and feeling on engines, but I do like the 2019 Modern Warfare 2019. I don't know what else could change, but it's exciting. Yeah, I also really like the thought of this like Frankenstein that's just been limping along for 2 years, just with the weight of the world on its back, and now it's finally getting the operation it deserves, and it's going to become a real boy.
Yeah, it's a real man. It's going to get a heart. But that said, I also kind of weird not cosmetic, but like let's say they had said, oh, Vanguard's going to be the new engine for Warzone. I don't like the old shit. I like the modern, like sleek, like modern guns, all that modern world, modern technology. So I do like that that's going to be the new foundation. We're not like doing weird futuristic shit or like it's going to be based off World War II era shit. Like, let's live in the fucking now, man.
Yeah, I would imagine it's gonna be. I mean, this is all speculation at this point, right? They haven't hinted at any kind of time period or anything like that.
Well, I mean, modern warfare, as the name entails, kind of exists in modern era. It's kind of a fictional universe, so to speak, where there's like fake superpowers in the world and, warlords and stuff. But it is, for the most part, I think that all the guns exist now. They're kind of the modern, like if you were to go fucking to battle now, it's kind of what you would be seeing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming they keep it that way. I really hope that, how shitty would that be? Not to get negative and pessimistic, but they build this whole thing and it's all exciting, but then they throw some weird fucking twist in it where it's like, 50 years in the future and it like totally throws off the vibe,
Yeah, well, we won't know that. No details yet other than this, all but confirmed. No timeline yet in terms of when Modern Warfare 2 is releasing or Warzone, but it's speculated Modern Warfare 2 will be coming in the fall of 2022. And new Warzone will be sometime in 2023. But again, stay tuned every week. We have the details as they come down the pipeline. So that was the good news with the future of Warzone and the engine. There was a little bit of bad news, which, again, we all but confirmed ourselves because we read the subtext. We put the pieces together here on the Amateur Hour. We say what is unspoken. And we've talked about, hey, what about this fucking FOV slider and all this? They're going to give us a next-gen native game. Oh, wait, that seems like that went down the shitter. They're just going to wait for the new Warzone. Well, that was all but confirmed, too. I guess this was all on a press call or, like, press thing with Activision, and they confirmed that no FOV slider will be coming to consoles for current Warzone. They said, quote, we don't have confidence we can maintain frame rate on last-gen consoles. And they said last-gen is the biggest player base at the moment. They said console FOV slider in this iteration would be like adding a slider that says, here's how to slide your frame rate down.
So why don't they do it for current gen consoles?
Again, they don't want to degrade the experience and allow for that. It's kind of, I think, it's like got to build the foundation for the lowest common denominator. But again, this lines up with what we've heard, which is new Warzone is going to be current gen only. The last gen folks won't be able to take part in that. It's going to be next gen native or current gen native. So you got to imagine that FOV slider, while not in the current Warzone, it's got to be coming with the new one. And the good news is, what I kind of expected is, once the FOV slider comes, like they said, my frame rates are going to go to shit. But perhaps with the new one, they've, find a way to mitigate that. Because I've heard people on like Apex can play with an FOV and they still get pretty good frames.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to do it if other games are doing it. And that's a great takeaway from this. They're calling out last-gen consoles, and they've called out that it will only be current-gen consoles for the next iteration of Warzone. So I think we can, maybe assume that we'll get this FOV slider as console players on the next one. But, to be honest, I've completely given up on, having that FOV slider in this current iteration of Warzone. I've completely given up on it. I'm not sitting there waiting for it. I've been let down too many times. I'm getting 10 kills a game before we get the dub. I don't need it, baby.
Doesn't need it. He's resigned himself to playing without it. It's right. You could scale Mount Everest, with all your fancy oxygen tanks and your Sherpas and your, fucking North Face jackets, but the real mountaineers are out there with the pickaxe, just doing it themselves, baby. You got to do it with the fewest tools.
Yeah, that's me, baby.
All right, well, so that's the news on the future of Warzone, which, again, incredibly exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to start an advent calendar, every day checking off the day. One day closer, don't yet know the date, but we're still one day closer to the new Warzone. But that said, the new season of Vanguard Warzone is days away, that's for sure. That is going to be dropping maybe even the day this podcast releases or the day after. But the first details, as we promised you last week, they're now announced. Surprisingly, a ton of new stuff coming here with Vanguard Season 2, but more importantly and more surprisingly, where there's a ton of quality of life improvements, things that have been shitty about Warzone that they fixed. But first, let's dive into all the new details with Season 2. Not the biggest, but one of the new things they're introducing is it's called Nebula 5 ammo and bombs, and they're saying it's going to create new offensive tactics. So this kind of ties into the storyline of Vanguard, which a friend of ours pointed out. It's kind of funny. Both Vanguard and Black Ops are just obsessed with the idea of a gas. And so it was Nova 6 in Black Ops. Well, there's now Nebula 5 for Vanguard. It's some sort of crazy gas. And they're integrating that into the game. There's going to be Nebula 5 attachments and ammo and bombs that are going to be found in extremely small quantities around Caldera. Nebula 5 ammo is classified as a field upgrade. It's no stronger than regular bullets, but it has one exception. When an operator is downed by it, they will emit a poisonous gas cloud, and anyone attempting to revive them or standing within a few feet of them will face similar complications to circle collapse exposure, coughing, blurred vision, and a slight amount of damage over time. They said Nebula 5 takes only a single clip, but for some weapons that may be enough to turn the tide of a team fight. What do you think about that?
So you down someone with this stuff and they basically let out a fart that's so smelly that they fucking can't get rezzed, basically. They emit a poisonous gas cloud.
You gotta suck down that gas while you inject them with their res.
Oh, that's
fluid.
funny. Yeah, I mean, it sounds cool. I just don't really understand the mechanic of this. And I mean, I can imagine it, but I don't know. Okay. I don't know if this is necessary. This seems kind of like one of those weird little kind of quirky additions that doesn't stick. But I'll try it out. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's kind of. I mean, they're trying new things. They're playing around. It sounds like it's going to be similar to the old stopping power. You'll find it, and then when you want to, you equip it. It's a single clip. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal though. Okay, I have to res my buddy and I have to cough a bit and lose a little bit of life, but boom, they're up. I don't know, though, if they stay infected the whole life or at that point it's over once they're resed.
It's a good question.
We'll see.
What's interesting is I wonder how this will affect, kind of team What am I trying to say here? If you are in a gunfight and you have this, and say you down somebody, right? And you're moving quickly around and you don't know where someone's getting rezzed. But if that person that is rezzing the person you down starts coughing because of this fart that's emitted, you will then be able to identify where the res is taking place. Because a lot of times, you're trying to be very sneaky with your reses. You're trying to get that res off and they don't know where you are. And then there's that last kind of when they get revived, that ding, that kind of whatever the sound effect is that comes off. I wonder if this will cause more double deaths because somebody's rezzing somebody, and then they'll be coughing and where both of them are and you just shred them while they're down.
That's an interesting point because it's always great when you find somebody who's just been rezzed because they're just
one shot.
Yep. Yeah. But now the guy rezzing them, which usually leaves you in a really vulnerable state to begin with, now you're even more vulnerable. That's an interesting point. But in addition to these ammo, they also are going to have Nebula 5 bombs. And they said one of the rarest items in Warzone is the Nebula 5 bomb, a locked briefcase full of deadly gas with an explosive charge. Once activated and set down in front of an operator, It will detonate after a fixed countdown and cannot be disarmed or destroyed. Its initial explosion deals a high amount of damage in a small radius before the gas spreads outward, where it will hurt any operator without a gas mask. The gas lingers for 2 minutes before ultimately dispersing or feeding into the oncoming circle collapse.
2 minutes is a long time.
I know. Operators can potentially outrun this explosive aftermath just as they would the circle collapse, but in terms of an area denial tool, the Nebula 5 bomb is a powerful force if you can find it.
So I'm imagining Rebirth Island, and we're in Harbor, right? And you leave this briefcase upstairs in like a situation like that. It sounds like you make that room, that building, uninhabitable, right? Like you let that off. You wait for a team to push in there. You detonate that briefcase. All of a sudden, that team's got to get out or they're dead. And that just takes... What's interesting is how is this going to affect like late game circles, like that final little spot? If you had one of these and you just throw it down and drop it, you basically force somebody out of that circle into the gas. I don't know how this is going to be. It could be. It sounds like this is a pretty powerful tool. I just don't know. I mean, yeah, it sounds like it's pretty rare. Where are you going to find these things? Is it once a game? Is it once every few games? You know, this also now puts an importance on the gas mask. You know, maybe everyone's got to be carrying gas masks because of this shit. You know what I mean?
I think the way you described it is accurate, though they have not confirmed this is going to be available on Rebirth. I think it might be Caldera only.
Oh.
But like you said, an area denial tool, they said, which I think can be incredibly powerful, especially like you said, with the circles restricting when there's a small amount of space. Let's say you're holding like a high area and there's only 1 or 2 routes in. You can go maybe down to the mouth of the first route, drop this fucking bomb, basically quarantine that whole area off. Then you're only really going to get pushed from the other direction. Or let's say a team's camping an area. You go drop that shit in their spot, run away. You're going to flush those little motherfucking rats out. So I actually think this to me is way more interesting than the ammo, but again, could potentially be too powerful. We'll see how this handles in real life.
I love it. Yeah. Pushing rats out. Interesting. Yeah. So is this supposed to be coming out with the Season 2 update this week?
Yeah, this is going to be rolling out right off the rip with Season 2. They haven't said if it's specifically for Vanguard Royale or for regular Battle Royale. Or again, if it's going to be featuring on Rebirth, at least from what I read, I think, though, it's going to be both Battle Royale and Vanguard Royale, but Caldera only. That said, though, there is a third component to this, which maybe is going to answer my question from earlier about how long the effects of the Nova 5 gas last, but there's these thing called portable decontamination stations, and they say they offer temporary refuge. And they said, despite its toxicity, Nebula 5 can also be temporarily dispersed. The portable decontamination station, which is a new field equipment in Caldera, is a portable device that filtrates air for several seconds, protecting anyone inside from the circle collapses or Nebula 5 gas. These devices impact all operator TAC maps, allowing everyone to see where they are currently activated, and they can be destroyed by explosives or ballistics. With these caveats in mind, the portable decontamination station is still useful in surviving both old and new chemical threats and could likely lead to some new positioning strategies for Battle Royale modes. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just think it's fascinating. I didn't realize that these also negate the effects of like circle collapses. So you could deploy this in the gas with your team and hold on in the gas. But as soon as I made that realization, you then read that it does on every operator's TAC map show where these are being deployed. So this is kind of interesting. This is they're making this a thing, This isn't some little tiny like, oh, it's like stopping rounds. We could kill them easier. No, this is like they're changing how kind of that end game circle is going to be approached. These are the kind of generational change. I mean, I'm not trying to overstate this. You see what I'm saying, though? This is interesting shit, actually. I'm curious to see how this plays out.
Well, we talked about the new Warzone being an evolution. Maybe these are the seeds of evolution being planted. I'm with you. It's a whole new gameplay mechanic. This, a little, my little my little spidey sense for like abusing the shit out of the game and getting fucked by sweats is kind of going off. Like, these bastards are already using stim shots and all that to make incredible gas plays. To me, this is only going to elevate that. But like you said, there is the balance of knowing that they're being deployed, but still, like, maybe they only know where that thing's deployed. The motherfucker could be right in the gas behind you at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just thinking, going down a mental rabbit hole, an old cowboy rabbit hole, where, you know, for a very long time in the beginning of this, you know, the gas was it. You know, the gas closes and you may last a few seconds with a gas mask or a stem, you know, and it's like the gas, you know, we are, what am I trying to say here? We are pawns to the gas. We are at the gas's whim. Well, what happens when they start introducing things where, like, you can really get nasty with that gas play, you know?
Yeah, like, imagine you got this decontamination station. I don't know if you'd also be able to hold a muni box or if that would take the slot. And you have 2 stims. Like, you could theoretically be in the fucking gas for like a minute or something. I don't know. Again, still hasn't rolled out, but it will be by the time many of you are listening to this. If you have experience with it, you know, tweet at us. Let's hear your thoughts. How's it going? Send your clips. We'll be checking it out ourselves. But that's the main kind of gameplay mechanic edition, field equipment edition. There's still more though, which kind of was a surprise. They have a new thing called an armored transport truck, and it says they're here in paradise as the Axis deployed multiple vehicles to carry Nebula 5 and its derivatives around Caldera. That is a nightmare of a sentence, but it said, in layman's terms, these unstoppable steel behemoths remotely roll on a set looping path, attacking those within its immediate vicinity with its 2 machine gun turrets. Okay, so they're AI controlled. Operators also need to avoid the mines that they drop behind, as well as the aerial support it calls in should it drop to low health.
These sentences are fantastic, written very well.
Yeah. Upon destruction, the armored transport trucks will drop incredibly valuable items, including, in the rarest cases, an intact Nebula 5 bomb.
Cool. So these are armored trucks that are dropping, I'm assuming via parachute, that are carrying tasty treats for operators to open up. That's essentially what this is.
Well, no, it sounds to me like almost like a train. I don't know if they're deployed right off the rip or they, like you said, drop in, but it sounds like they just start roaming the map in a circle, like they said, a looping path. And anyone, if you get in view of them, it's like the attack helicopters in the old Warzone, except these are on the ground. They start blasting your ass.
How the fuck on Caldera, which is like the most elevation changey map ever built, are there going to be trucks? Like, where are these trucks going to drive? I guess they're just going to be on the roads, like driving through fields. And then
maybe that's an interesting thought there. Yeah, programmed to the pathways. I don't know, but they have machine gun turrets. And then they also have this note that they drop mines. And then they also have this note that they call in aerial support when they get to low health. So maybe like there's airstrikes or helis or something. I don't know. But again, it's going to be like the armored helicopters, because if you get them down, then they drop really powerful loot. But that's a new thing that's coming here.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, wow, a lot of changes this week. This is a little overwhelming for me, you know it?
There's still so much more to get into, though. We're like only halfway down, and as I said, there's even more on top of that that's coming next week. But last week we teased, which we knew was coming, these bomber planes, but we kind of were speculating, how's it going to work? And interestingly enough, they gave us the info, and I think some of it we had touched on actually is going to end up being right. But so these bomber planes are now a second aerial vehicle in Vanguard modes only in Warzone. The bomber is a formidable air-to-ground striker capable of leveling infantry and vehicles. They can also destroy loadout drops, which can fundamentally change how operators approach these powerful sources of weapons. While this new aircraft can shatter anti-air guns and destroy ground-level threats, it may meet its match when confronting the fighter plane, which continues to be available in Vanguard Royale. Alternately, drop into a stationary or truck-mounted AA gun and bring down these bomber planes with Vim and Vigor.
Vim and Vigor. What does Vim mean? I don't know if I've
Never heard that one there. Some real interesting phrases, I think, from the World War II era. That said, they added finally, furthermore, players can expect to see health decreases to both planes as part of this update, making them easier to shoot down should they pose a threat to you or your squad.
So wait a second, just to be clear here, these bomber planes, they're AI controlled as well, or can you fly these things?
No, you fly these things.
Then how do they can also destroy loadout drops. Wow.
And it looked like, well, what I thought was in the notes, but fairly certain I'd seen a little video clip or screenshot, is that somebody riding in them, like you touched on, you kind of have like a bird's eye view of the ground where you can aim like where these bombs get dropped.
Love it.
I'm unsure though, like how that whole mechanic works, who's in charge of that, how many people can go in it. We had said there should be 4 people. They didn't confirm that, I don't think, at least not on this patch notes I had read. But that's a whole new class of vehicle now coming to Vanguard only modes.
Really fascinating. I mean, we're about to like have a really philosophical change in how we approach these games. If we got planes that are destroying loadouts, we got like these briefcases that changed like safe areas. We got like decontamination stations. We got new armored trucks driving around with little tasty treats. This is fucking a lot. It's almost too much to handle, to be honest.
I mean, if you're one of these folks out there that felt like Caldera, that felt like the core Battle Royale experience, was getting stale, was getting bland, well, they just dropped like a Guy Fieri flavor bomb on us here. Because in addition to all that I've announced, one more mechanic, which seems like it's almost drawn from Fortnite, but I think it's really cool, and they're acknowledging kind of the shortcomings of Caldera, which to me has been traversing that map is a fucking pain. The elevation changes, all that. It leads you in a shitty spot. So their solution is they're introducing a new things called redeploy balloons. And they're shown on the TAC map as a blimp icon. The redeploy machine is a ticket back into the skies to reposition thousands of meters away from your set location, so operators can ascend to the top of the balloon via a zip line tethered to the balloon, then leap off the top, deploy your parachute, and cover great distances. Planes or weaponry can destroy the redeployed balloon, and once it's deflated, operators can spend a few $100 to re-inflate it. The new movement option can be exceptional for repositioning across the map, so long as you watch out for bogeys entering your airspace.
Damn bogeys. What the heck does a bogey? What is a bogey?
Like a enemy airplane.
Oh, okay. Golfer over here, so I always get that mixed up. So this is another layer that's fucking crazy. There's now another way to get redeployed. That's instead of like looting and finding the cash, you find this only need a couple $100 or a few.
No. Yeah, I think you're misunderstanding. At least I believe so. No, to me, this is only for if you're living. It's a means for traversing the map. So let's say you're down. I don't fucking like in resort and you want to get way to the northwest and you see one of these fuckers, you zip up like 1,000 meters into the sky and then you're just almost like, I think to the same height you redeploy at. So you can parachute and just cover a massive distance. So it's
I see.
Actually
totally
like
misunderstood that.
A dead player.
Okay, the name is so confusing. Redeploy balloons. These should be like repositioning balloons, but okay, this still is gigantic. Like, you can just fucking go anywhere on the map now. It's pretty unbelievable. Curious how long it takes? Can you evade like a bad situation? If like, say there's a quad on you and you're by yourself, can you just like throw out one of these, zip up really quick and get the hell out of there?
It doesn't sound like they're player deployed. It sounds like they're just kind of pinged on the map. Sounds like, honestly, it's a similar mechanic to Red Doors, except instead of teleporting you, now it's kind of allowing you the ability to float.
I see.
And I don't like the fact that they can be destroyed because I feel like as soon as they're fucking up, they're going to be destroyed. But it is, I guess, cool. You could fix it. But like you said, I think to me, that's going to make for some cool moments if you're in the pinch of it. You're the last guy on your team. They're closing in on you. You see one of these fuckers. You're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Fucking fly out of there.
Yeah, or if it's a late there's one in a late circle, and you're like, you just fucking shoot on up on it, and then you can just like hang for a while,
Yep. So again, all new additions in terms of gameplay, in terms of weaponry, in terms of vehicles, in terms of AI, controlled things going on. But in addition to that, there's even more coming. There's new points of interest, which are areas of the map. There's a thing called Chemical Factory coming, which is, it says, the refinery between the mines and docks that once produced phosphate gas has been repurposed and is now a newly constructed plant spewing out Nebula 5. This newly named Chemical Factory has a similar layout to the location it replaced, but with several notable differences, including enemy soldiers. So we got AI-controlled soldiers now who protect the facility, and a trap that can be sprung in the central building. There are several more interior spaces to explore, from the main factory floor to watchtowers with impressive sightlines over the factory and its surroundings. The river runs green with Nebula 5's byproduct, but it is completely harmless. Squads who infiltrate this highly lethal area will walk away with more valuable loot on average, which may help in the ensuing fight against both the Circle Collapse and Nebula 5 bombs. So it sounds like that's, again, the subtext to Tron, digging in. Sounds like that's where you're going to find those decontamination stations there based off that last little statement.
Yeah, and it also sounds like this is going to be the new Superstore.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe the new peak, they're drawing people away from the peak. I think it's interesting. There's now AI-controlled soldiers. There's like bots now. That's a fucking brand new thing for Warzone.
That's kind of a big deal. Like, they have bots now. It's just crazy to me. There's all kinds of new shit going on. They're really throwing it all at the wall on season 2. It's like they spent the holidays when we were complaining about like the loadout's not coming soon enough. We complained about all kinds of shit. No, they weren't there sitting there not doing anything. They were literally like mapping out season 2 and building all this new shit.
Yeah, all these new mechanics, as you said, throwing it at the wall. We'll see what sticks. We'll see what falls. In addition to that new Chemical Factory, there's also underground chemical weapons research labs. And it says, according to Intel, the Axis operated 7... they operated... Oh, Jesus. There's 7 of these fucking things around Caldera, hiding them underground and guarding them with small squads of soldiers. Again, AI shit. Expert trackers may have already found these lab locations around Caldera, but the average operator may find them thanks to several hand-drawn yellow circles on their TAC map. With only one way into these facilities, your squad mates better have an escape plan before the circle collapses, or enemy squads threaten your chances at walking away with phenomenal loadout items, which may include gas masks and Nebula 5 ammo.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal is a great word. Okay, man, I honestly, I'm starting to get overwhelmed with all these changes. I'm going to need you to hold my hand when this new season comes out because it's getting a little overwhelming for the Cowboy. I'm a simple man, and we're looking at like very, very large changes. Give me a gun, and I'm going to shred people. I don't need all this.
I'm here with you. I got your hand. It's going to be okay. I'm stroking your forehead. You're here. You're safe. You're loved, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
But let's get to the familiar. That's all the new stuff. The rest should hopefully be familiar, should be exciting, get you amped up. There's a new game mode coming for Caldera called Caldera Clash, which is you level up and conquer major areas in a team deathmatch twist. It's developed by High Moon Studios. It pits 2 teams of up to 48 operators divided into quads in a death match with wild events and power-ups. It's an evolution of Clash, which was on Verdansk 84, and Warzone Rumble that came before it. You can drop in with a custom loadout, can have any weapons from any of the games.
Ooh.
Each kill earns you a point, and the first team to reach a set number of points wins. It features 3 power-ups, which are contracts, buy stations, and Dominion capture. Some sort of weird shit going on, blah, blah, fucking blah. There's double point zeros and bonus point crates. These can help team come back from a kill deficit. So that's a new game mode coming.
Yeah, I feel like they did an iteration of this on Verdansk, right? They did something like this.
Yep.
Yeah, so
it was Clash.
It was Clash, yeah. So this is now, yeah, the Vanguard, or it was Verdansk Clash. Now it's Caldera Clash. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a good, fun to mix it up, but it's not my cup of tea necessarily.
Yeah, could be a good arena for leveling up weapons.
Yeah.
Or again, escape from that slog. Redeploy, hone your skills. But speaking of honing your skills, an interesting addition that's going to be coming. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks from now, which certainly I know we'll be giving it a try because we are, frequent and passionate lovers of Rebirth, but they're bringing the old fan favorite Iron Trials game mode to Rebirth.
Ooh.
And it says, based on Raven's Iron Trials 84, Rebirth Island Iron Trials is a battle royale variant custom made for highly competitive players. It features its own set of weaponry from Cold War only. Interesting. And numerous rule changes to increase time to kill. This mode is built for the most hardcore members of our community. However, players of all skill levels who want a change of pace within Warzone should participate! Those who can't wait to learn about this mode needn't worry. It's a duos mode, 20 squads of 2 for 40 operators total on Rebirth, and uses similar circle collapse size and speed. You can read up on the Iron Trials rule set as well as strategies for surviving a match. There's a link in these patch notes. Claim victory, receive a unique animated calling card, a true sign of mastery over the Iron Trials, and expect more information to come later this month when expected to begin.
I mean, I love Iron Trials. I'm excited. Dude, but this isn't for amateurs. They're talking about calling the best of the best, like the highest skilled players. I mean, kind of sounds scary.
But at Rebirth, man, we're not like the highest of the high, but I think we're kind of upper echelon when it comes to Rebirth, dude. You got like, what, 200 fucking lifetime wins on Rebirth?
I do. I am pretty badass on Rebirth, but we'll see. I mean, I'm down to try. You and I can get in there. We'll, maybe we'll get a couple dubs. I don't know.
Although it just came to me, though. I remember one of the limitations for Iron Trials is the nerfing of the sniping, so that might be neutering your skill set a little bit on here.
Oh, I fucking hate that that's a part of Iron Trials. Yeah, I'll probably have to switch back to the Bren. I'm still pretty accurate with that one there.
Yeah, whereas Tron, I got the STG, the MP. I'm excited for this. Like I said, it's the Iron Trials. Like, I'm not really that eager to prove myself on Caldera, but when it comes to fucking Rebirth, like, let's put on the fucking, whatever that little number thing when you go run the marathon. Like, I'm ready to try this fucker, put myself through the gauntlet. It's going to be duos, so you and I got to get some fucking action on this, see how we do.
What's this marathon? What are you talking about, marathon thing?
That little, placard that says your number when you're, going to take part. Like, slap one of those on me. I'm ready for the Iron Trials.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do it. And is that getting released this week with the new season update?
It looks like they released the timeline of all the playlists that are coming, and I think it's the first week of March is when that's dropping.
Oh, okay. So we got a little time.
A little bit of time. Okay, so that's all the new stuff. But we're gonna end it here with, to me, the fan favorite. This is the shit that I read that I was like, wow, what? Thank you. There was a video that came out months back called The Little Things that pointed out all these little shitty parts of Warzone that are could be such simple fixes to help the game. And it seems like so many of these are actually happening. They've heard us. They made the fix. Praise the powers that be. So let's dive into them. They're releasing, I think 10 plus quality of life improvements with Season 2. The high level off the top, our gas mask animation will no longer interrupt when you're aiming down sights. Armor plates will now refill a full plate before refilling a damaged plate. So the situation where you had a sliver of one plate.
I hate that.
Yeah, and you put on a new one and it would just replace that. That's no longer the case. If you have an empty one, that one goes full, and then it kind of bumps the other one over.
That's one of the, I've never thought about them fixing that, but that's one of the biggest frustrating, that's fantastic.
Fantastic. They have traversal improvements, so they're increasing the mantling height and fixing collisions. So I think that's going to help with climbing stupid fucking rocks and ledges and climbing up shit. You're going to have a little bit more reach there.
Okay. Great. Believe it when I see it.
And finally, next up, vehicles, they said the handling is going to be improved and a reduction in collision of world geometry. So, less sticking to things, less Austin Powers getting stuck situations.
Okay, cool.
Parachute improvements include being able to deploy them at a lower vertical height. Now, as somebody who frequently breaks their legs, where I'm spamming that, I'm telling you guys, I'm spamming the parachute button, but I'll break my legs. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, you suck at pulling your parachute. I'm just gonna say
I
it.
just like to push it to the last moment there. I like those late, like just fucking,
Just if
touchdown.
if Tron ever plays with any of the listeners out there, I want to be very clear about something. If he in the beginning of the game or when he's redeploying says he got sniped out of the sky, it's total bullshit. He forgot to fucking pull his parachute.
I got sniped by God. That said, they're adding some restrictions where dead silence and stuns are now being removed completely from Vanguard Royale.
Ooh.
So if you're one of these purists, you don't like that, you got now a whole Battle Royale playlist for you to play around with.
That's I kind of like that.
And speaking of stun grenades, one of the biggest complaints was from keyboard and mouse players that noticed when you were stunned, if you played on controller and had aim assist, like it was almost like the aim assist would get buffed and it would like totally counteract the fucking stun and you could just totally fuck with people. Well, they fixed that and they said aim assist now scales appropriately, so it will not increase aim assist strength when you're stunned.
Okay, I wished I got that more before this was nerfed, but I that sounds, I guess, okay. I haven't noticed that of you.
Well, I don't know, but I have noticed we're all stunned motherfuckers, and it's like I come up on them and they're still somehow getting able to get to me. Like, what the fuck? So hopefully that'll help out.
Yeah.
They're nerfing fighter planes and gasoline canisters. They're buffing anti-air cannons. And for Caldera maps, Battle Royale, the final circle is now less likely to end on peak.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So those are the high-level changes. But in addition, again, a fan favorite coming here for your boy. They have teased that mid-season, so Season 2 Reloaded, there's going to be another round of these. And the biggest one to me that I think is so cool, is so needed, that's going to be coming again mid-season, is when you're downed and you're getting rezzed, whether self or by a teammate, you're going to have the ability to choose whether, once that res completes, whether you stay crouched or you stay laying down.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Because how many times you're being rezzed, your guy's laying down, he's in a safe spot, but as soon as you're up, your fucking guy's gonna pop back up onto his knees. Like, why? Why can I not just stay laying down in a safe spot?
I've been sniped so many times because of that. You pop right up, done. Like the guy's just waiting for you,
Exactly. So again, like to me, this shows me the community is listening. This gives me, this heartens me. This makes me excited about the future of Warzone. They call them quality of life, and it's so much that. These are things that are happening, thousands of times over the course of playing this game. You've been frustrated by these stupid little things that are just like small little tweaks. So thank you if you're out there, Activision. I know you are. I know you got a whole team that probably monitors this podcast to see what the amateur community is saying, because we're the voice of the amateurs. But in addition to that, coming mid-season, Cowboy, they're also going to give you the ability to drop a gas mask and the ability to pick up armor from an armor satchel, even if you have one equipped.
This is like fucking Christmas. There's so many things that they're changing that are going to make the game so much better. Just dropping a gas mask. Like why didn't they do? It's just great. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. But again, there's just so much. We could literally keep going on, but we want to keep it fresh for next week. So we got more on the horizon for next week. We're going to be diving into the Season 2 cinematic. We're going to be talking about some other changes coming to Rebirth mid-season. We're going to talk about some news about Activision and Microsoft and the future of Call of Duty in terms of console exclusivity and some other stuff going on. So that's going to do it, though, for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. As always, please like, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on any podcast app you're getting. Get multiple accounts. Just start spamming that.
Yeah,
shit.
get your parents' phone, hit that subscribe button on their Spotify account. Meet a stranger at a bar. Add the sub on their Spotify account. Do it all, baby. Really helping us out. And we've seen some crazy growth since we've gone a little more shameless with our promotions. So we're going to continue to do that. We're still the same individuals. We're just pushing ourselves harder.
That's right. We're pushing, and we're being pushed by the arms of our amateur community. We love you all so much. The Discord's been thriving. Our comments, our Twitter, we love it all. Excited for the future of Warzone, for all these changes, for what it means. We want to hear your feedback, though, so continue communicating with us. But that's going to do it for us this week, so we will talk to you next week in Season 2. And until then,
good luck in the gulag.